So, greetings to all. My name is Vikas Kumar Srivastav, and I welcome Amogh and Gowri on this platform. So, this is glad moment. I got this opportunity to talk to you guys, and you all are going to share valuable insights and your experiences with our viewers and with our students. So, I welcome both of you here.
Thank you. Glad to be here and thanks for having us here.
Welcome, Amogh.
Yeah, yeah, same. Yeah, thanks for having me here. So, yeah.
So, we have many sections in this talk, and we'll start with a basic introduction. So, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your background? We'll start with Gauri.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Gowri Subedar. I'm now a PhD student at Stanford University. But prior to this, I finished my B.Tech in IIT Dharwad in mechanical engineering, graduated in 22, then pursued my master's in mechanical engineering at Stanford again, and just graduated with my master's in June of this year.
Yeah, thank you. Amog.
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm Amogh. I've graduated from the same batch as Gowri, 18 to 22. And yeah, I was from CSE branch. And since the last 4 years, I've been working at Google. Before that, I used to work at AstroTalk. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. So, we'll move to your professional journey.
Yeah.
So, I will be discussing about your current work. So, please let us know about your work. Can you explain, without being too technical, what do you at present? Also, wherever there is a mathematics connection, please put some particular focus on that part. So, start with Gauri.
Uh, yeah. So I'll try to do this with an analogy. Imagine you wanted to test a certain mechanical design, say a suspension system a few years ago, or like actually some 30, 40 years ago. This you could model as a mass spring damper system, but back then to test a new design, you would just design it, build it, test it, and if it would fail, you would do this all over again. This process was very iterative, time consuming, resource intensive. But then we came up with modeling, building mathematical models, which are like representations of the system. And then you had computational modeling, where you could basically test these systems on a computer and you could carry out your designs on a computer, optimize for them. The process became much faster and you could come up with designs you wouldn't have thought of otherwise and things like that. Now, consider a similar analogy for diseases and new treatments. Imagine we had a model for a particular disease we wanted to study. Right now, if you want to test a new drug, you go through the whole design process, you develop it, but then you have to carry out clinical trials to test them, which are not feasible always. They can be very expensive, time consuming, but also downright unethical in a lot of cases. But now, if we had a model for these things, we could just test new therapies or targets through this model and see how the disease would progress over time or how these interventions would help with treatments. And this would be a game changer for basically drug development or even targeting new therapeutic areas in the body and so on and so forth. So to build such a system or like build such a model for the disease, we know like the disease progresses over time. And so one thing I think most of you would know here, unlike when you want to model such dynamical systems, we can use like a system of ordinary coupled equations. But because these things can get super complicated, the ODE system would also be a super complex nonlinear coupled system with a lot of variables. So the second part of this would be like the analysis part, for which you can use insights from control theory, where you're looking at feedback because there's a lot of interactions in the body, and use them as analysis tools. Um, and also, like when you want to be computationally efficient, you would look at linearization and building linear versions of this model. So you would use a lot of tools from linear algebra. So yeah, this is what I currently work on in the simplest of terms.
This is math. Okay. So, the same question I carry forward to Amog. Amog, please let us know about your work and also explain this without being too technical and what you do at your present. And also, whenever there is requirement of mathematics connection, please put some particular focus on that part.
Yeah, sure, sure. So yeah, as I work in the software engineering domain, I don't think my work is that close to mathematics as Gowri's is, because her work is more research oriented. So let me tell you a bit about my work. So I work in the Google search team in the sports verticals. What that means is like whatever queries you put about sports, like let's say recently we have the Paris Olympics. So all those queries, the handling of those queries is what our team works on. So when I say handling these queries, it means everything from ranking the features. Like let's say you go to Google and you type Olympics 2024. So which feature should show at the top? Which events should be ranked highest? Which it will be personalized to you. Then which medals your like which country medals should would come on top. So all these things is are managed by my team. And speaking for me, I work in the ranking team. So ranking the features like according to each user. And yeah, so that's all I've been working on for the past 6 months. And so, if I have to say if there's any connection of mathematics to this, so the ranking algorithm Google uses, it's kind of their USP, right? So the this ranking algorithm is like pretty complicated. It's a big mathematical function of a lot of factors, like some freshness signal, like how fresh the data generated is, and let's say there's one thing called glue, like how much the user interacts with that feature. So if you like a particular feature, if you scroll to the featured events in a particular query, so we know that okay, the users in this particular area probably like this feature more. So yeah, so sometimes we have to tweak this ranking functions. We have sometimes we have really simpler ranking functions, like it's just a linear combination of some signals. So yeah, it's like a design decision. The more complex a ranking system is, the like more complex equations we have to use.
Okay.
That's kind of the gist of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So now we'll move to the journey. So please tell us about your journey regarding what did you do before reaching your current position and what challenges did you face along the way? So start with Gauri.
Yeah. So, as I said, I did my undergrad there in mechanical engineering. And it was during my time there, I guess, working with professors Amar Gaonkar and Amlan Barua, that I developed a very strong interest in mathematical and computational modeling. Simultaneously, I also had the opportunity to work on a biomechanics project where we tried developing an exoskeleton for a national level competition called Allivate. And then I also did online courses in anatomy during COVID because yeah, I just wanted to explore new things. Um, and then this sort of like directed my interest more and more towards biomechanics. And then I was fortunate to actually work in IT Roorkee through a research internship in a very relevant domain where we worked on modeling the forces on the spine during different movements. So after this, I wanted to explore the domain a bit more, and that's why I chose to pursue a specialization in biomechanical engineering during my masters. Um, Here, I had more opportunity to explore, like, dive into different systems of the body, like modeling the brain or like forces on the brain or the heart and blood flow, and also like stress, strain, and things on like different muscle groups, like how do you test it, the experimental aspect of it. And the current work I'm doing was while rotating through a lab and a new advisor, and I think I just like this and carried it forward.
Okay. So same question first to Amogh.
Yeah, so I think since I joined, I've been always interested in coding. Like me and Gowri also used to have long talks about it during our second semester course. And yeah, so since my first year, I've been like really interested in programming, and like in my second or third year, I also got interested into software development, like how does a life cycle works and how project management works and stuff like that. So in my third year, I did my internship with Arista Networks. I was more into networking. I worked there for I think 9 months, and I also have a patent on a wireless intrusion prevention system. But then I that domain didn't interest me that much, so I switched to pure software engineering. So I interned in a company called Pulse Labs. It was a US based startup, and I worked full time 1 year there. Uh, then I switched to AstroTalk, and yeah, in between this, I actually tried to apply for MS. So after my internship in Arista, I gave my GRE, I gave my TOEFL, but unfortunately, I could not get any university which I wanted. So then after that, I applied to Google after getting my rejection, and in I think 2 3 months, I got a call back for interviews, and yeah, I started working in Google.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So, both of you, did you know from the beginning that you wanted to do what you are doing now, or did this plan just develop later, or this just happened? So, how was it? So, start with Gauri.
Um, I think I knew fairly early on that I wanted to pursue higher education just because undergrad was super broad and we didn't get into the depth of like a lot of concepts or things. But then the specific focus of biomechanics or like using mathematical modeling as a tool or framework to study like biological systems, I think that developed over time through internships and projects and just exposure to new ideas and possibilities.
Amogh.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I was like not at all sure what I want to do. So you can even see that from my profile. Like first, I wanted to go into networks, then I wanted to go for research. Then now I'm in software engineering, and it's like very recently I actually developed an interest in software engineering. So even I don't think during my first job I actually liked and I actually appreciated what software engineering is. So no, to answer your question, I wasn't sure at all what I want to do, and even now I don't think I'm 100% sure of what I want to do. But yeah, I think now I know that software engineering is my domain, and yeah, I like doing the stuff I do. So yeah, it's okay if you don't have any vision in your college years. As you go, as you work, as you keep working, you'll get that clarity.
Okay, so
Yeah.
in case if students are not being very clear till their 3 years of UG, then also they have good chance to land somewhere better place.
It is, but that's also a flip side. If you are not if you haven't decided your path, like Gowri, I remember she gave her GRE in her second year. And so if you know your path, let's say if you want to do MS, so I would focus more on my grades instead of, lead code and interview preparations. And that actually helps. So what happened with me in my last year was, so neither I could do my MS applications properly, nor I could do my job applications properly because I was kind of trying to step on two stones at the same time. So it's okay if you want to explore, but keep in mind that that will cost you some time. It will take, like, let's say you'll be probably behind your peers by 1 2 years. If you're okay with that, then yeah. uh, yeah.
So you mean there is payoff either during your UG in the beginning itself you have to struggle or somewhere you have transition. Means it is there for sure.
Yeah, there is definitely a payoff. So if you want to explore the breadth of something, you have to sacrifice depth. So that trade-off will be there.
Okay. So now one very important thing regarding preparation and advice. So how did you prepare yourself for your current role? And please share some preparation tips for our students. Gauri.
Um, I think this will sort of go back. I mean, I think this is sort of a little different from what Amog just said. But I think I also spent the first 3 years of my undergrad broadly exploring, kind of because I was not working extensively in modeling or things like that. But then I think this is also something I would encourage others to do. As Amok said, I would like definitely corroborate that you need to like plan for things what you want to do if you want to like save time or be very specific and like do things right after your undergrad. But at the same time, I would still encourage people to like explore broadly because this is the time where you get to like try new things, because then it just gets harder and harder as you move ahead. And I think I want to quote Professor Tejas here. Like, he once advised me, like, when you're exploring, even if you don't find what you like, you'll at least know what you don't. And I think that is something which I found to be very true, because working in projects and like course projects in manufacturing or like fluids or strength of materials, I realized although I was interested in them through classes and things like that, going into the depth, they didn't interest me as much, which was like a very big factor. Um, and like further, just seek out mentors who can guide you and always be open to learning and exploring new things. And then engaging in research early in your undergrad is crucial, because one, research takes time to build, and you'll also develop necessary skills over time. It can't be like a 2 month project at the end where you're like, oh, I'm going to approach this as a course project, and just like there is a clear objective and there's always a solution, because research doesn't work that way, and you're trying to like identify new things. Uh, Finally, also be very particular about, I think, just being particular from things and then look at things at the superficial level. But if you really want to get involved in a domain and then ask insightful questions and tackle complex topics later on, it's very important to to have your basics strong. That's what
When
I
you say basics, basics means where are you targeting? Like 9th, 10th, 11th class schooling, like that, or your UG
even
basics?
and even UG basics, right? So like, say when we did like thermodynamics, heat transfer and advanced heat transfer was based on that. So you would start with that, and then you look at ODEs and then analysis, or even linear algebra, and then having a strong basic foundation in linear algebra helped me in numerical linear algebra. And then now, like when I'm working, it's also about, oh, you're thinking more than just like the basics. Yeah.
Okay. So same question I posed to Amok also. So how did you prepare yourself for your current role and share some important tips to our students and viewers?
Yeah, definitely. So for this role, so there are like two separate things. One is like preparing for the interview, and the second thing is being skilled enough so that you can do well in your day-to-day job.
Right.
So for I'll firstly go with it, and yeah, these two are not the same things. Like most of the times. So I'll go with the first part. So for interviews, I think it's basically just grinding. You know, solve a lot of questions, like understand the concepts. It's more of hard work and how much time you spend with it. Like do code forces, do lead code, and like do some like read more about data structures and algorithms. And most probably, as you go on with it, in probably 3 4 months, you'll get better at it. And I think after 6 7 months of consistently doing it, you would be at a stage where you can crack interviews of these big companies like Google, Amazon, and yeah, stuff like that. But just being good at interviews does not mean that you are a good software engineer. So even after getting in, it won't guarantee that you would do well in your career. So to become a good software engineer, firstly you need to understand how software engineering differs from other domains of engineering. So software engineering, it's like very the pace of developing a solution is very fast than other engineering domains, and the feedback loop is also very fast. Like you deploy something, you get the feedback, you where something is wrong, and you deploy something again. And the second thing is the scale at which your solution works. Like anyone sitting in a room somewhere could deploy a software which could be probably used by millions of people. Uh, so probably you should understand. First thing is the scale at which it works, and so you should always, since when you start doing your projects in college, you must set the highest standards for yourself. Like your code should be perfect, your design should be perfect. Uh, I won't say perfect, but you should strive to write better code. You should strive to write better solutions, and so just a second. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, you should strive to write better solutions. And um, just a second. I think I have
Yeah,
some.
yeah. So
Can
Gauri,
you
I'll
go ahead
sure,
with next
sure.
question, Gauri? Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'll move to very crispy part. So it's about your memories and hobbies at IIT Dharwad. So can you share some funny, memorable, important, or impactful incident from your time at IIT Dharwad?
Yeah. So I think one of the most important aspects of my time there was definitely the opportunity to meet people from like a lot of different cultures, and it was the first time I had like chance to do that. And this also brought in new perspectives. I'm sure like I learned a great deal and grew as a person when we went on late night walks around campus or just hung out at the canteen or like outside the hostels after dinner. Um, yeah, and I think another major highlight was being able to organize different events in various capacities. I learned a lot of things, juggling time, managing time, juggling different things, organization, leadership qualities, interacting with people. Um, but also, I think I had the chance to work with some amazing people, which led to some of the closest friendships I've had till now. And I think that made the time all the more special there.
So I hope you started your journey with Valmy campus.
Yeah, I mean, we were always at the Walmy campus, never.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Amok, now you. So it is
Yeah, yeah.
about
So
yeah. So now we are yes. You can continue with the same.
I'll continue the answer to the previous question. Sorry,
Sure.
I got disconnected.
Sure. No problem at
So
all.
yeah, I was saying since college time you should follow these principles, like read about various coding principles like solid. And generally what happens is students they tend to write dirty designs and dirty code in their college assignments. And so while transitioning to industry, right, and they try to write the same type of code which they did in college. And so the first 6 months for any software engineer, it becomes like very difficult to let go of the practices they have got in their college projects and assignments and stuff, and actually adapt the cleaner industry practices. So I suggest to like aspiring software engineers to like follow these practices since their college time. Also take a look into software development cycle, learn about version control, how to effectively use version control. Then learn about testing. Testing is a part we generally skip a lot in our college projects. We generally don't take testing that seriously because I think for all our assignments our professors write the tests for us, like they test against something, the some hidden input that they will have. But probably learn about unit testing, what are the various types of testing, like regression testing and stuff like that. So yeah, that if you start doing this during your college days, it would be very helpful when you transition to the industry. Yeah.
Okay. So Amok, we have moved to the next part. It is regarding memories and hobbies. So in that, can you share a funny moment, important moment, impactful incident from IT Dharwad when you were here? So yeah.
Uh, so hobby, if you talk about hobby, so I love playing the flute. Since so when COVID happened and we were sent to our homes, I started learning flute at that time, and I still play the flute. And during my college days, yeah, you could always find me at the badminton court, and we used to play till like 2, 3 in the night. And I think yeah, some professors also complained at one time that we made a lot of noise at that time.
Yes, because in
So
Valmy, all the quarters were nearby.
yeah, exactly. And so there was this parking, and there were like there was this almost broken net,
Yes.
and yeah, we used to play there. So I don't think there's like any one impactful incidents at during my college life, but so these late night conversations, right? So we used to take like long walks around the campus at night after work, after studying, and so we used to have a lot of insightful conversations, so mostly about work, mostly about projects, and so even if my friends are from other domains, like not necessarily computer science. So it was really fun listening to what they're working on. It kind of broadens your perspective, uh, and yeah, it so you can learn something from what they are doing probably. So yeah, I don't have any one such impactful incidents, but yeah, all like all these small conversations with my peers, with my professors, like they all helped me to become who I am.
So, like, if you have been involved into any kind of like elections or any games or cultural or something, if you feel free to share, please share, Gauri.
Uh,
Yeah, I think, yeah, so like we started the literary club in our, I think towards the, after the, I think towards the end of our first semester. Amogh was also there, and I think that's where we started off our like organization or cultural council journey. Did that for about 3 years, right? Organizing events. It was, I think it was more like we want something to happen, and like we had to do that because not much was going on, and that was a very interesting experience because I think we just learned a lot. And as I said, had the chance to like work with some amazing people, and then I think that led to some very close friendships. Um, After that, I had the chance to serve. I stood for the elections in my final year. Was General Secretary Cultural Affairs last year of my undergrad. That was again a transition, but more like logistics and organization as opposed to like doing conducting individual events. Um, and I think we also went to Intra-IT in our first year. Intra-IT cultural meet, end of our first semester. That was also a very interesting time. We did a 3-day train journey all the way to Roorkee, came back, had a lot of fun, but then we met a lot of students, saw a lot of events, and yeah, had a good time.
And Amok from your side.
yeah, so I was, as Gowri said, I was in the literary club for like I think two years probably, 2.5 years. I don't know exactly. Yeah, so it was fun organizing events. I think we did the one I enjoyed the most was probably word games. I think yeah, it was really nice. Like we had to make the questions, and even the events were really good. Then I started a dramatics club in our college. So in my second semester, we had to do a play for Republic Day, and we did a short play about Lokmanya Tilak, and I think that was pretty good. So it for the time we and resources we had. So after that, a bunch of people we came together and started the dramatics club. We also went to Inter IT for our first for our first appearance in a stage play event. We did pretty good. We came, I think, sixth among 18 IITs in that cultural meet. So it was a lot of fun. I mean, I think I was majorly a part of these two clubs in my college life, and organizing the events and the participating in Inter IIT. It was really thrilling. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So now we are moving to our interaction session with our students. So in that, first is a message to the students. So what is one line message that you want to give to our students, Gauri?
Um, I think I would just summarize whatever I just said, like, stay curious, try to be open to learning new things, ask questions, and then embrace challenges.
Thank you. And Amog.
My advice would be a bit more specific. So I think the students who have joined here are mostly in their final year, I'm assuming. Like whenever you are choosing career paths or if you're choosing jobs, like just don't go for the face value of it. Like let's say, like when we were applying for jobs, we generally only used to look at the CTC and probably some Glassdoor reviews and stuff. Like, though I suggest you to not be that shallow. So if the companies or whatever, if the organization's mission statement actually aligns with you, or if the work that you are doing actually aligns with you properly, you will be able to perform your job much better. So at in fourth, I think in the final year, none of us had the maturity and the required knowledge to make these decisions properly. But if you have like interact with your seniors, interact with your relatives, who are like maybe like talk to people who have been to different companies or taken different career paths, and yeah, make an informed decision.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think. Sorry. Yeah, I want to add a bit to that because
Sure.
you got specific and went about the career thing. I think something similar would also hold for people who want to pursue higher studies. I think academia gives you a bit more flexibility, at least during your masters, to explore like a bit more. But then if you are like if you want to transition to the industry right after, just exploring up to that point isn't really going to be helpful. And your profile won't be concentrated or specific enough to do like anything in a particular domain. So just being very particular and like clearly identifying what you want out of each project or internship, and then like saying, okay, this is what I learned and this is what I want to build on, and then like building a profile that way can be really helpful because it just shows, okay, this is something you really want to do, and then you were serious about it and you work towards it.
Okay, thank you. So now we'll open our session for the students present here for the interaction level. So let's start some questions from our own students present here. So whoever is present here, you all are free, and I welcome you all to ask your questions one by one. So our guests, Gauri and Amok, will try to answer them at their best level. Yes, we can start now. Shraddha ma'am, are we audible?
Yeah, yeah, you are audible, all three of you. Yes, please, students, please do ask questions. They are your own alumni, very similar setup. Please ask. Otherwise, like I do in my class, I start taking names. So, some student that I know, Tushar Maitra, do you have any questions? Please do ask.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Tushar, you're audible. Go ahead.
Like, I we are seeing this culture over here at IIT Dharwad that everybody's aiming for jobs. So, like, it is more or less clear that the
You can also
pursue
type the
path
question just for, I'm telling, I'm sorry,
that
your voice is
Amogh bhai
breaking
has taken.
somewhat.
Uh, I will
Oh,
just continue
okay.
this. Students, if your voice is not audible, just in advance, you guys can keep posting questions so that one by one, it will be easy for us to pick the questions and all the questions will be answered because we don't have so many people present here and we have some 20-25 minutes remaining, so we can easily answer them. So,
Alright,
Tushar,
I'll
you continue.
type the question.
Tushar, you continue. Now it seems your
Okay,
internet is, yeah, balanced. Yes.
okay. So, like I was saying that the path that Amogh Bhaiya has taken is like very much discussed over here at IIT Dharwad, but nobody is talking about how to go into research fields like Gauri Didi has gone. So, like, what is the how does one make his or her profile to pursue some kind of research in whatever fields they fit or deem fit to.
Yeah, uh, I can answer that. And I think there's also a similar question in the chat about how to find and approach internships. So I think like it might be a new branch and interdisciplinary, but I think we were in a similar boat because we didn't have a lot of seniors or a lot of people who had like gone through research internships or had gone into higher education. And I also went into a new domain. So I think one thing that helped was like if you know like you want to do research internships, you can always plan, and you might not have like a readily available database where you get like all these resources. But one thing that helped me was just creating an Excel sheet where you start searching for different kinds of research internships in your domain. This will take time and it is some effort, but you will really know what are the different things out there and what is relevant to you. So I had this Excel sheet with like 20, 30 possible research internships, which had like when is the application deadline, what are the requirements. So if you plan things like this, you can always go ahead and ask professors for letters of recommendation. You can also prepare your application beforehand, get it reviewed, and so on and so forth. And the other advantage to this is there are multiple application cycles, right? You can apply for your second for your third year, or like even for right after undergrad. So doing this before, like you'll have experience even with the application process, and even if you don't get an internship for the first time you apply, you sort of know what is expected in the application and how what you should change for next time, or how you should build your projects and profile in the 1 year so that you can apply for these internships in the next year.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move to the next question. I hope this question was answered. Tushar, is that all right? Did you understand this?
Yes, yes, fine.
Okay, thank you. So next question we have in text format. So any one of you, please take.
I think Gowri has already answered the part about research internships. So I'll probably add upon industrial internships. So for your third year internships, it's good to get into a company where you actually intend to do your full time job, because like entering as an intern and then getting a full time job is much easier than prepping for interviews. And yeah, prepping for interviews is actually it's not. I don't personally. I feel that time is not very well utilized. The skills are not transferable that much to your job. So like if you actually spend that time in your internship doing a good job and you get a PPO there, it's a better utilization of your time. So you should probably, I would suggest you should get serious about this at the end of your probably fourth semester or fifth semester. You should list down which domains you want to work in, list down some companies which you think would be a good fit for you, like where your interests align. Like let's say, do you want to go into quant? Are you interested in like are you deeply interested in algorithms, or are you more into software development, or maybe you are more interested into UI stuff, front end, and stuff. So it's better to identify it at that point than look for a company which would align to your goals, and start applying, look for referrals. So that is the right way to go at it. Don't just depend on CDC or the college placement. Like probably go a little bit out of your way and yeah, try to find referrals, try to find more information about companies, like what do they actually do, what their day-to-day life looks like, what's their mission statement, how's the job security, probably how are the working hours. So yeah, that's how you should go about it.
Okay, thank you. So we can take next question from the chat itself, or students, you can unmute and ask directly if you have a stable Wi-Fi. So Amogh and Gauri, do we have anything to pick?
I think Tushar is raising his hand. Let's take his question.
Yes, Tushar.
So yeah, I have a question for Amogh Bhaiya. So like, I mean, in my experience, like we learn about like skills and every shit like, oh okay, I'm sorry, like stuff that is used in industry. We learn about that in internships actually, like going through internships, and not
Mhm.
really, you cannot prepare for stuff beforehand. There are some things like that, but what are the
Mhm.
things that we can ensure preparation on beforehand before going into internships or even industry placements or something? So like,
Yeah, that's a good question. So actually, what I feel is if you do your academics properly, so contrary to the belief that college education is not very useful for industry, if you do it the right way, a lot of concepts are actually applicable to industry. So you would have courses like DBMS. DBMS is a very important course for industry. Then you have your this one software engineering course that is pretty good. Then there is design and analysis of algorithms. Then like go more into, yeah, I think apart from these academic courses, like these should be your first priority. I'm sure that they'll definitely help you in the industry. And apart from this, like learn more about databases, learn more about system design. Generally people just mug up system design for the like for passing the interviews, but it's actually a very interesting domain. Learn about stuff like messaging queues, learn about different caching mechanisms, and they are actually fairly simple to learn. Like you don't need to wait to go into the industry to learn about it. Like you can learn about those things in your college itself.
Okay. Amok, we have some questions in chats. We'll cover them. Question first was directed by Krunal Patel, and I think that was regarding internship already cleared. And if not, you just read, and if something is missing in the first question.
I think we covered the first
Okay,
question.
fine. Then second question was uh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. This is the wish. And the third question was by Rega Madhu Kirtana. So she's asking, I'm sorry for the gender mistake. Uh, I'm from B.Tech first year. I have a query that how can we manage academics, cultural clubs, and NSS and NCCDC? How you used to manage when you were as a student? Yeah, please take this question.
Uh, Amog, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so actually, we didn't. I don't think we managed it pretty well. So we were, yeah. So I remember you. We always used to be stretched very thin among doing all of this. So you need some time for yourself, then you need some time for academics, then like this clubs activities and stuff. But what now as a senior, what I would suggest is probably keep it in moderation. Like don't join like 3 4 clubs, like probably we did at some point in our college life, but I don't think that is sustainable. You should probably one or maximum 2 clubs, and you should keep your extracurricular activities in check, because like it feels they add a lot of value to your career, and they do actually. The soft skills that you learn, and it's a great way to spend a good time and make friends, but that is not all, right? You at some point you have to dedicate your time towards your career goals, towards your academics, and that is certainly your probably your first priority for most of the students. So like participate in club activities. Definitely don't be a bookworm, like studying 24 hours a day. That's definitely not healthy. But yeah, you have to strike a balance between both of these. And regarding sports, I think like everyone should dedicate at least 1 or 2 hours in their day to sports, because like life is pretty hectic at IIT, and like every day deadlines and career tensions. At least this 1 hour like helps you stay physically fit. So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Sorry. Yeah. Um, I completely agree with Amog. I still wish, because I was telling how it is important to be particular about getting your basics strong. So if you involve yourself in a lot of things, especially in your first 2 years when you're building the basics, it can get really hard later on. But one other thing that helped was just make sure whenever you're doing something, you're present there and you finish that and then move on to the next thing, so that you're not thinking about something else. So you're in class, you don't want to be thinking about your co-curricular activities, or you're in your you're like doing some or organizing something. You don't want to be thinking about your test in a week, or like an assignment you haven't submitted. So one thing I would say is, when you're doing something, just dedicate that time to that and then like move on to the next one. That kind of helped, because then you're present in whatever you're doing. And the other thing is, yeah, keep it in moderation, but also dedicate a certain amount of time and try to stick to it. It's very easy to like move away from that, because you feel like, oh, this there's this thing coming up, I want to just spend a lot more time in something, and now you're lagging in everything. So you can end up doing multiple things, but yeah, just make sure you're organized, you plan for it, and then have a buffer time in case something goes wrong in any aspect.
And also one more thing I would like to add is since I've joined the industry, since I started my job, so the people I've met, especially people from IITs or engineering colleges, they are most of them are really good at critical thinking. Most of them can solve problems, but I've seen a common problem in all of them is most of them are not good at communication, especially technical communication. So I think club activities are really important for this as well, because I think most of the people like we generally dedicate our 2 years for JE, and we don't participate in extracurriculars during our plus 2. So this is kind of a time to compensate for it. So this if you participate in proper in the relevant club activities, you'd be able to hone your communication skills better, and they work a lot better. I mean, even in your interviews, the impression that you leave, and then like how clearly you are able to explain your solution, how clearly you are able to put forth your thoughts. So that stuff matters a lot. So yeah, please keep that in mind as well.
Thanks. So we have a hand raised by Prachi from long time. So we'll take this question from Prachi. Prachi, you can unmute and ask your question.
Hello, Bhaiya. Hello, Di. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my question is that how to make a good profile if we want to go for higher studies? Like, what are the most important factors to consider, like CGPA, internships, extracurricular? What are those?
Yeah, I can take that. I think there's also a similar question from Vedansh regarding my experience with the application process. I'll just um, cover
Yes,
both of
yes.
them. So I think there are like five important aspects to your application: your GPA, the letters of recommendation, your SOP, GRE and TOEFL, although it's a bit variable right now, and sometimes a personal statement. Um, so I think CGPA is very important for your master's application because it's one place where people, so it's basically like in masters you'll end up doing advanced classes, right? So you want the admissions committee to know that you have done well on your undergrad classes and you have the required knowledge to be able to get through masters easily. So your CGPA matters. People say anything about 8.5 is good, but 9.2 would be like a very good mark to have if you want to target top universities. And then GRE and TOEFL are not like big aspects of your application, where if you get a very good score, it's not bumping it up. But if you get less scores, it can negatively impact your application. So these things are more like to-do list. Give them, make sure you cross a threshold and just be done with it. They shouldn't take a lot of your time. I mean, you're preparing for them, giving them, but it should just be done. But I think the most important aspects of your application are the letters of recommendation and your statement of purpose. Because letters of recommendation are the things which where people are getting to know you. uh, Basically the rest of the application is written by you and you have curated it, but letters of recommendation is like one aspect of the application where people you have worked with are talking about how it was working with you, right? So just make sure you talk to professors or like even peers or industry, or if you're applying after a job, your mentors, who you have worked with for a while, who know you more than on the surface level, who can basically give specific examples of your skills, right? Like Amogh was saying, you can have very generic letters of recommendation saying, oh, this person was good to work with, is smart, is hardworking, but that is what everyone would say. But if you can have the people giving your recommendation go more to the depth and give specific examples where they talk about your critical thinking or how you solved a problem or how there was or how you're good at communication and things like that, it really bumps up your profile. And I think that is one thing that really helped me with my applications as well, getting like very personalized, very strong letters of recommendation. And the final thing is the statement of purpose. There's few things which are expected to be there on your SOP, things you have done, why you want to do a master's, and in what area, broadly or specifically, and why that university is a good fit. So, why the university is a good fit is something you would customize for each university, but then just knowing based on your domain what you want on your SOP, on like why do you want to do a master's and how have things you have already done made you a good candidate for a master's in that program, and what that university can add to your application. Just being very clear and specific about these points on your SOP really helps.
I also want to add to that. So yeah, Gowri has answered your question, but I want to add like what things I did not do properly. So I did not. I also tried for MS, but I did not get the universities that I wanted. So first mistake I did was like I didn't have proper LORs like Gowri said. So just a generic LOR probably won't get you into a top university. You need to have personalized LORs. What personalized means exactly is, I think the person should be very specific about your work, like what exactly you did, what were your efforts, and what were the outcomes. So if that is there, then only it's a good LOR. So I had good GRE scores, I had good TOEFL scores. I think I had a decent enough SOP, but still the application got rejected. So like and yeah, especially for CS, the applications are way more competitive than other branches. Keep that in mind as well. So like probably so even if your friend in mechanical or electrical is getting a good college with a kind of the same profile, it won't work for you. CS is a bit more competitive. And I also wanted to add that if you feel your profile is not good enough after end of your fourth year, so many companies offer a research program, a 1 year R&D program. Google also has one. So if you get in, you work on a project for like 1.5 years, you get something on your profile, you work on a good project, and then almost certainly, like all of the peers I know who are in this who have taken up this R&D role, they almost all of them get really good universities. So if you're not very sure of your profile, you can probably dedicate 1 more year of your career to some research projects. I think one of our seniors also did the same thing. He worked in ISC for 1 year. I think it's Sai Anurup, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So he worked at ISC for 1 year, and then he started with his applications, and he got into, I think, USC. Yeah. I think there was another senior. I don't remember the name, but yeah, people do this. So that's one option for you.
Yeah. I just want to add a bit more to that in terms of doing your research. One is, yes, some departments are definitely more competitive. But another thing I've realized after coming is that departments within the same university can be very different in terms of requirements and what is expected for their admissions. So just taking the time, doing the research about the individual departments you want to get into can be really helpful. Amok said something about industry as well, right? Where you are taking time to know more about the company, the work culture, what is expected, and things like that. So you have to put in a lot of time really figuring out. One is, yeah, it's very easy to go online, look at I mean, there are like a lot of ranking forums to choose, like, oh, these are my ambitious or like, safe universities, and I'm going to apply to the top 50. But it's also that specific domains in each department can be very different in universities. Some universities might be known for some programs, or more like they might have more labs and work going in specific areas. So if you just go by rankings, and this is one thing I definitely wish I'd done a lot more, where you're looking a lot more into being very specific about the things you would want out of the university. So just taking the time, doing your research, and saying, okay, this might be a top program, but this is not a good fit for me or my interests. It takes a lot of time, and it basically takes a lot of guts to say that, because you're like, oh, this doesn't have what I want. So I think, yeah, it basically applies to both aspects, industry or academia. Just being specific and then knowing, oh, this is what I want to do, and this is why this will be a good fit for me, and applying to that.
Thank you. So we have one question in chat by our professor, Prabhu R. He's asking to Gauri. Gauri, please shed light on your transition from M.Tech to PhD at Stanford. So Gauri, please go ahead for this.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Thank you for the question. I think I was a bit fortunate in my transition because Stanford has this internal conversion possibility where if you find an advisor and do research with them, and if you get a PhD offer, you can just switch from your master's to PhD without going through the whole application process again. So I was working with my current advisor from my first quarter here. Um, and yeah, like I said, I wanted to explore, and that seemed like a new domain, but had modeling in it in biology. And I started exploring that. And then over time, I realized the scope of the domain, like the work, realized there's a lot more mathematical modeling can do, and how I can bring my skills and experience into this. And there's a lot of other factors which are not often talked about. When I said I was fortunate, I meant the work was nice, it was interesting, but it also meant my advisor had funding to fund my PhD. So these are a lot of things which people don't usually talk about. So when you apply to universities, and like now a lot of universities offer direct PhDs without masters. So you might be the best candidate for their lab or for the opening they have, but they might not have the funding, and that's why you might not be accepted into programs you want to get into. So in terms of PhD, it is also very important. I think for PhDs, you can also like just email professors and ask them, oh, I am a student here. I'm planning to apply for the PhD cycle. Are you taking on students? Do you have funding? And they might have funding, but for different projects and not something you might be interested in. So some of the things on their websites might be outdated or they might not be working on it anymore. So I think, yeah, it's just a lot about the information you can get before you make decisions. And a lot of people are very responsive. So it's usually better if you can email them, just get all the information you want. Don't be hesitant about reaching out. A lot of people usually reply. So yeah, I think it's just putting in the efforts. And then yeah, for me it was, yeah, the department had that program. Unfortunately they don't anymore. uh, so yeah, I found the right fit, there was funding, and then I was working with her for a while, and then I just could transition internally.
Thank you, Gauri. And our session of 1 hour is about to over. So now the next questions will be based on our guest timing. If guests are free, they can take the questions. So now we have hand raised by Vedans Chaudhary. Yes, Vedans, go ahead.
Hello, Bhaiya, and hello, Dee. I just wanted to, it was a very wonderful session. I just wanted to ask that how beneficial are the research interns in the Microsoft and Google? Like, I have seen they offer some Microsoft Research Fellowship and all, and how beneficial it will be for us to get into those companies and also for higher studies as well.
Yeah, I'll take that one. So if you are really planning to go into research, these opportunities will be wonderful for you. So you will get some work done, definitely. You will have great mentors there. You will probably get some stuff on your resume, some publications, or maybe some conference papers. And it definitely works for your MS. So I've seen, at least I haven't interacted with people in research in Microsoft, but at least the people I've interacted in Google all have got like really great universities. None of them have has gotten into UCLA and I think UIUC and like all the great universities. So this it's like killing two birds in one stone. You get really great LORs, and generally people in these organizations are probably well-known researchers. Like it's your luck, obviously, but generally you get really great mentors. So if you are interested in research and you get this opportunity, I would say definitely go for it.
Thank you, Amogh. So now we are almost done with our session. We can pick one or two questions based on guests' availability. So can we take, if you guys say, one or two questions?
Yeah, I have no
Yeah,
issues.
yeah, me
Fine.
too.
Then one or two more questions you guys can paste. One question is here. I am a fresher and there are some game building events that go semester long. Should one, I mean, they're asking regarding they should join or not. We don't have enough knowledge regarding that and the future plans regarding that. Please address this.
What
Yeah,
do you mean by game building events? I
Prakhar
mean,
Gupta, can you elaborate this? Just unmute and elaborate. You can talk here. Yeah, I think Prakhar is there.
and
uh,
until that, I saw one interesting question here that please recommend clubs you can join to help us build a strong base for our career.
Mhm.
Uh, so I strongly suggest I'm strongly against it. Like club activities should be for your personal development and not your career growth. You have a lot of other stuff to do for your career development, maybe like study more and do more coding. But your participation in club activities should be for your personal growth. Like the stuff you like. Let's say I really like dramatics. I didn't it's for your own well-being and own development. Like, do not think about career and stuff like that while doing club activities.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So,
I think
which question we can take now? Yes, Gauri, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add if you're forcing yourself to do something, it'll become more of a chore and you're not really enjoying it, and it's not again sustainable. So, if you're doing something you enjoy, you're already adding to your resume by saying, oh, you excelled in this, you're already good at this, but then you excelled in some event, or you like, spend some time or organize something relevant. It becomes less of a job and more something you're doing out of interest, and it's also, I think it'll be a lot more relaxing and useful that way. So don't, there is no one club which can look good on your application, right? It's more like, oh, you did this and these are the skills you developed, or you also had a good time and these are the events you participated in or won. It's just showing your all-round development, and like I think all clubs can do that.
Yeah. And also, this is my
Hello,
personal
senior.
opinion, but
I'm
Yes.
just asking that can we join coding club or something that will help us during the recruitments or something?
so actually, to be honest, when I was in college, the coding club wasn't really a coding club. Like I mean, the activities were not very helpful. I don't know the current state of the technical clubs in the institute. But yeah, it's your own choice. Maybe like join for a while, see if it's actually relevant to you. If you're actually, matlab, if it's actually beneficial for you. Are there seniors to properly guide you? If you think your time is getting utilized in a proper way, then I suggest you go ahead with it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, senior.
uh, I think there's one question about how much time should we study in our first year. uh, I would say it really depends on it from person to person. Again, right? It depends on how many other things you want to do, and like how you want to moderate your time, and how much like say the soft skills or what is the GP you're trying to target. But that being said, I think it's also different for different one in terms of like learning ability or the time you want to spend to reach your goals. So yeah, I think this should be more like don't study all the time. Do get involved in other things because it can get really hectic, as Amok said. But there is no ideal time or plan because it's just really different for everyone. But I think it's important to basically test with different times and realize what would work the best for you. Like, okay, do I need to spend? And I think it'll also depend from course to course, right? Some courses can be very easy, and you're like, oh, I can just like spend 3 or 4 hours a week, versus some might have a lot more work, and then you might also end up spending a lot more time understanding concepts, and you might end up spending 10, 15 hours a week. So I think it just really depends. But understanding and realizing that early and planning around that can be very helpful.
Yeah. And
Uh,
adding to,
just
can I
Yeah,
add?
Amok, just a moment. Is my screen visible? I'm trying to show one image here. Is it visible to all?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is written IIT Dharwad alumni.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we have a gift from us to you guys, and this will be uh, printed on your T-shirt, and this will be couriered to you guys. And here, this design, this is known as Upkramanika, Upkramanika, and this is based on the pink sunset at Dharwad. So Professor Sagnik advised me to share this right now on the screen. So I hope you guys will love when we'll send this to you as a gift.
Amazing. It's nice. Beautiful.
Definitely,
Thank
that's
you so much.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, Amok, please go ahead.
Yeah, so adding a bit some details about it. So personally, I wasn't able to concentrate much in lectures, but how I used to study is through lab assignments. So I used to do most of the lab assignments like really judiciously, and I used to spend a lot of time on them. And I used to learn theory around the lab assignments. So if I have to do a particular lab assignment, then I'll go and read about it and stuff like that. So I think if you do your lab assignments properly for most of the courses, you should be able to cover like 80% of theory in that, and you won't require to study much during your exams. So yeah, that is one advice that yeah I follow.
Okay, just give me a moment. I'll just confirm with the professor. Ma'am, what should we do? Should we take more questions or we should stop as per your suggestion because others may have time
Yeah,
constraint?
so it's almost, I mean, we are over than 1 hour. So I guess students, if both Gauri and Amog allow us, I mean, sending some question via emails, then student probably can ask, approach them later on. I think Gauri has already said in chat that yes, they can approach. So
Uh,
the students who are interested can write down her email ID because she gets
yes, ma'am. And I guess Amog is also sharing something from his side. So,
who your guests, Gauri and Amog, please you can contact them through email. Since we are over time, I her email ID because she gets you can stop
Ma'am,
or conclude.
can
Yeah.
you take my last question as it was as it is a follow up from my
Okay,
previous?
no problem. Sure, go ahead. That is not a big deal. Yes, please go ahead.
So I wanted to ask that how to get into these research interns R&D section of the companies like Microsoft, and should we have enough profiles and CVs to get into the R&D section of the these companies?
Honestly, that's a bit of a there's a lot of luck factor involved there because I think at the end of second and third year you don't have much to show on your resume. Like all of the applicants like broadly like stand on this same level. But probably like getting a referral would definitely help. Firstly, then if you have some previous research internship in your college, and if you find a problem statement in Google regarding the same thing, if your domain matches, that's definitely a plus. Maybe contact people on LinkedIn if you see some area where you have already done the work before. And I don't think I can guide you much regarding this because I didn't even know these programs existed before joining Google. I would suggest like maybe go to LinkedIn and find someone who is doing these programs and approach them for more details.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah.
so anyone with the question we can take. So I think almost everyone done. So thanks everyone. We have come to the end of our show, and thank you excellently to our guests for their time and insights. If there is something what I'm missing from my side and you want to share, this is the last moment. Please feel free to share.
No, nothing
Please
more
feel
to
free to
say
send
from
email as well. If you remember something later on, you can send an email to either to Shagnik or to me. So that would be very helpful and really, really, I'm really glad about after for this event. Yeah, thank you for joining.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it was a pleasure like meeting all of you, and also like meeting some new students. It's been a while. I think I just want to say one thing. All of these processes, either applying to the industry or like even internships or like grad school, is very time consuming. But it might also be very demotivating, and you might get dejected because there are usually a lot of research internships and grad schools and
Yeah, I think nothing more to say from my side. I kind of said what I wanted to say. But yeah, feel free to approach me. I think a lot of students have already approached me on LinkedIn. And yeah, like me, try to become better software engineers. I mean, yeah, and I would be not just for referrals, but I would be also really glad to help you, like in your projects or if any idea you are having, like definitely feel free to ping me to discuss. Yeah,
So thank you
yeah.
both of you. Thank you, Gauri, and thank you, Amog. This was really excellent session. And I guess we could not stream that live on YouTube because of some technical error. I will just take care of that. And Shraddha ma'am, thank you so much for this. And thank you all the students to join here. So I think we can just wrap this. Okay.
yeah. Bye.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye, Vikas.
Yeah.
Bye,
Yeah,
Bye.
everyone.
bye bye.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Thank you all. Thank you.